It's that initial rush of excitement, isn't it? You've heard in the street, it's probably late at night and it's dark, and there are raised voices shouting at one another, accusing each other. And you rush upstairs, you stare out the window, the adrenaline is pumping. How exciting. And yes, there is a dispute, a big argument across the street. Your neighbours are shouting at one another, they're making accusations. And you stand there and actually sadness comes upon me. Sadness that this is not how it was meant to be. Couples, neighbours, families, they're not meant to fall out. In Acts chapter 15, Acts is the book of the Bible in which we hear the story of the early church. We read about Paul and Barnabas, who had been great friends, colleagues in work. And then at the end of chapter 15, we read that they had, let me quote to you, such a sharp disagreement that they parted company. Such a sharp disagreement, they parted company. Well, I don't know what happened immediately then, but there's every chance they told the story to others. Oh yeah, I had a big Barney with. And there we go, the story comes out. And what we normally do in these situations is we tell the story that we want people to hear. A story that may not quite shine such a bad spotlight on ourselves. But Paul and Barnabas, they seem to have been reconciled. We read about that later. They must have found some way of recognizing that both of them had hurt each other, both of them had made mistakes, both of them needed to own up that there was a better way to work together, to care for one another. It's that neighbour argument. We'd watch it sometimes with the thrill, but then actually with sadness. And I hope it brings us to pray for them, to pray for God's immediate peace there and then, but to pray for long-term renewal of whatever is breaking down that we're watching. Jesus invites us to offer a different approach to how we deal with those with whom we disagree. He asks us actually always to love our neighbour as ourselves. To love our neighbour as ourselves. Not to tolerate or respect or welcome them as different people, but to love. And that love is not a feeling, because feelings come and go, but that love is an action. Perhaps it's a love that says, how can I this day make that person's life better? That's active love. It's a love that builds bridges and not barriers. It's a love we're all called to bring to bear when we see neighbours arguing, families broken, couples struggling. Build bridges, not barriers. Love our neighbour as we love ourselves.